Mica's death coming just days after she told a police officer she was scared for her life.
Questions about how 30-year-old Mica Miller died came up after her husband, John Paul, announced her death during the end of his sermon on April 28th. He's a minister. Just a day after her body was found and 2 days after, Robeson County deputies said that she died by suicide.
Lorenzo says her sister suffered abuse from her estranged husband, Pastor John Paul Miller.
But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
Welcome back, friends, foes, bros, and hoes. Everyone is welcome here. Today we are going over a case out of South Carolina that has gained national attention, and to borrow a phrase from my husband's favorite movie, there's fuckery afoot. Before I dive off into my commentary and opinions on it, I just want to do a quick recap in case there's any of you that stumble across this video and have no idea what I'm talking about. But just keep in mind that although I'm going to do an overview, there's a lot of information, and it is just coming out super fast. So I'm not going to be able to hit every little detail, but if you have something that you would like to add, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. And with that said, let's get into it. So on April 27th of this year, Mica Miller was found at a national park in North Carolina, dead of an apparent gunshot wound. Shortly after this, lots of allegations started coming out, and it started to pick up steam. And Mica's husband, JP Miller, is the pastor at a church in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina called Solid Rock Church. It also came out that he and Mica were having some issues and were separated or in the process of divorcing. I know that she filed for divorce at some point, and then it was revoked, and then he filed for divorce. It was just very messy, very messy. Essentially what you have with this case is a classic movie situation, true crime documentary. It's gonna be on Netflix at some point. It's coming. But Mica's husband, JP, is a pastor, and according to Mica and Mica's family, he had been physically abusive, sexually abusive, spiritually abusive, and financially abusive for a long time. And we also learned that JP first met Mica when he was her youth pastor, and she was 14 years old. He is 14 years older than her. Now, myself and my husband, we are 13 years apart. So that in and of itself is not a red flag to me. However, when you are 14, someone 14 years older than you is a big deal. I believe I also read somewhere that she was babysitting for JP's children and his wife at the time. At some point, JP and Mica began having an affair until they were caught in 2015. And just to show you a little bit of how cuckoo this guy is, here is what he did when he was caught in his affair.
A man by the name of Ty Longerbeam has posted a bizarre video of John Paul Miller. In this video, John Paul Miller is heard saying a few things like he just wants to tuck his children in at night. With that, and according to the man, this video appears to be taken at around the time he was caught having an affair on his first wife. According to the man, this was taken in her front yard. And remember, that affair happened with Mica Miller.
JP. You alright, man? You okay? Huh? You okay? What's the matter? Huh? What's the matter?
Switch my medication.
somebody helping you? Oh, okay.
I thought I was going to see Jesus.
Okay. But you got Mark coming?
Somebody called him, I think.
Okay.
I feel like he invited me.
So,
Because he had spiked me everywhere.
is your medication something they gave you?
Yes, I'm a drug.
Yeah.
You do some new doses or something.
You want me to make sure Mark's coming?
Yeah, all I know is find out whether my phone's on me. I don't know my phone.
But somebody's called him, right?
Yeah, the lady across the street called.
Okay. All right. Hey, JP. I think Mark is coming. I had him try to get in touch with him again to make sure. Is that okay?
You know, the ants.
Huh?
The ants fight me. There's ants all over me.
He was letting there's ants on you? There's no ants on you, though. It's just, maybe that's how you feel, but there's none on you. There's none on the grass. What kind of medicine do they have you on?
Okay, that's all I can watch of that. That is nothing more than performative bullshit. I am not making fun of anyone with mental health issues. This is not that. This is performative. It's manipulative. It's ridiculous. And the fact that this man is the leader of a church is mind-boggling. What is it about pastors? Why is it always a pastor? I swear, if you look at news headlines frequently, it's like every other day there's another pastor that's got caught doing something terrible. It's wild, and I don't trust any of them. So he goes on to later marry Mica, and throughout their marriage they have ups and downs, and something I find interesting is some of the clips of the sermons I have seen from him are just mind-blowing to me. He will get up in front of the whole congregation basically and disparage his wife. He talked about her mental issues, how she was suicidal and on or off her meds.
Africa had a wonderful trip, amazing trip, and she came back with the idea to start a school in Africa. And 6 weeks ago, she goes in the hospital, gets out, and just leaves. Just completely leaves me, leaves everything, drains the bank account, and goes. And guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed.
He even went so far as to have her committed involuntarily to a psych unit. During that time, he also went through her car, her phone. He deleted all kind of evidence that she had stored on her phone, documenting the long history of abuse from him. He was texting people from her phone as if it was her. I've also seen some really disturbing reports alleging that he would make her do sexual acts with strangers. There's also been reports that Mica told her friends that she was forced to have intercourse with him 3 to 5 times a day, and if she did not want to, he would blare loud music in her ears so that she couldn't sleep. He made her take testosterone shots to increase her libido, and then even when all of that wasn't good enough, he forced her to do things involving toys and even animals. Based on this history of abuse including trackers being found multiple times in her car, razor blades being found in her tires. He has leaked nude photos of her online. She has made police reports for the trackers, and there was also a call she made to the police about the nude photo that he released.
The family's attorney says they are exploring legal options right now, but meanwhile, we're learning much more about the ugly twists and turns of the couple's relationship. Joining us now is News Nation investigative correspondent Rich McHugh, who's been on this story since it broke. And Rich, you have some exclusive new video.
That's right, Elizabeth. We have new video, but I want to give some context before we get to the video so our viewers can understand this. In the past couple days, we filed a lot of freedom of information requests for police reports in Myrtle Beach, where she was living. We received about a dozen of them, and it shows that in the months leading up to her death, her calls to the police were frequent. She made 2 calls to police on March 11th. This is important because it corresponds with the video we're going to show you. I want to read from the police reports that day. The police officer writes of responding to East Coast Honda in Myrtle Beach in reference to harassment, that Mica was getting her tire fixed after it was slashed, that she told the officer the tracking device on her car, that the suspect showed up, quote, she told him to go away, she does not want to talk, and when she pulled out her phone to record, he sped off. The victim then leaves and goes to East Coast Honda, and then the suspect showed up again. That appears to be this moment we're seeing at East Coast Honda. Let's roll the tape.
Walk away.
I'll show you the pictures.
Do you want to go to jail?
They'll be on Facebook in a few hours.
Alrighty, you'll be in jail in a few hours. Walk away.
Now, in that moment, we see this moment before, like a month before her death, the struggles that she is having in this relationship. She told police that day she was afraid for her life, and we're seeing what she is up against in that moment, Elizabeth.
Yeah, she's telling him, walk away, walk away. He's threatening to post a picture on Facebook. This really offers a lot of insight into the struggle she was having. The victim, is apparently told several people that she was trying to get away and out of this relationship. You also have some exclusive video pictures, right?
Yeah, pictures that actually correspond with what they discovered that day. They discovered GPS tracking device on her car, and they're called caltrops that are put into tires that police use to deflate tires. This is part of the evidence that the family is providing to police in South Carolina to say, hey, take a look at this. There's a pattern here of events that led up to her death. They're hoping that there can be some form of charges against this person.
All right, Rich McHugh reporting on this story yet again. Thank you so much.
They couldn't do anything about that under like revenge porn laws because it didn't show her nipples. So, but it was still against her will. But according to the law, once you send a picture to someone, they own that picture, so they can pretty much do what they want with it. I'm not sure if that's different from state to state, but in either case, a husband posted a nude photo of his wife on the internet that she did not consent to, and he's a pastor. He is up in front of a congregation week after week preaching the word of God. It's just absolutely unhinged behavior, and I've got to be honest, I haven't been able to watch much of his sermons. I've just watched clips here and there because it's a little bit triggering for me. It's the same song and dance played time and time again with different pastors and different churches over many years, and it's just vile and disgusting. And honestly, I can't, I'm sorry if you're offended by this, but I don't trust any of them. To see these sermons that he does, the things that he says, it's so manipulative and so performative, and to just get up there and put her down the way he does, divulge personal details of her life that she didn't agree to air out to everybody, is just abhorrent, truly.
Now, I got some people I would love to see torn to pieces by some bears, okay? Lord, please, if you'll just strike them down with lightning by Wednesday, I promise I'll serve you forever, God. The worst thing about pastoring, there's a bunch of bad things. Worst thing is pretty much the people. That's the saying when us pastors go to breakfast or we go to lunch, everyone says that. Oh, ministry's so great except for the people. I had somebody on my staff, a young person that I had to let go. I said, listen, I don't want you doing this anymore. This is something that I don't think is right. I want you to stop. And they looked at me and they said this, well, God's my ultimate authority. I said, what did you just say to me? They said, well, if God tells me I can do it, then I can do it. I said, you work for me. They said, God's my, I said, you know what? Get God to sign your paycheck for you because you're fired. Okay, if God can speak through an ass, he can speak through your pastor. Write that down. That's tweetable. I sat under probably about a dozen or more pastors over the years before I became a pastor. I sat under all kinds of pastors. Every single pastor I sat under, I knew more than them. It's not my fault. It's either the woman or you brought her into my life, God. You know what? If you hadn't have brought her into my life, this wouldn't have happened. I know I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for this person to come in my life. And I know you answered the prayer, but God, you should have known better. I just pray for myself today, Lord, and I just pray that you heal my heart. I don't care about other churches. I care about other pastors. So while you're talking about me on Facebook, look up in the sky and you'll see a Solid Rock logo on a plane. That's me going to Miami. Here's my question. Has God allowed a catfish to be put in your tank today? I got a shark, great white shark in my tank. This is the worst sermon I've ever preached my whole life. I can't stand it. I just want to get the altar call and quit now. One day, listen, if you ever want to know what I'm going through in life, it's always about what I'm preaching about. God is so good to do that every single time. One day I'm going to preach about getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus. That's what I'm going to do. That was right. I told you I shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't be here today. I told you. Whatever. Okay. I'm going to tell a story. I shouldn't tell it, but I don't care. I'm going to tell it anyway. So, oh my Lord. My first wife, she doesn't watch this anyway, so it don't matter. But I was talking to some moron the other day, and they were, I didn't mean that. They're a good member of the church. I'm healthy, everything's going good, but I just don't like one of my relatives that are coming to visit. But I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That day, she wrote me a check right out of her bank account right there. I won't tell you what I did after the money was finally deposited and we had it. Here's our addiction sermon. Sometimes your pot's too small because I offend you all the time. How many of y'all have offended since you've been coming to Solid Rock? Everyone from up north can raise their hand. We know that. Has anyone in here ever gotten in a fight behind a seafood restaurant and been thrown into a dumpster? Anybody at all? We have an incredible security team here, just so you know. We have sharpshooters in this room, great security. And for those of you that don't like guns, they do carry guns because some people leave their cell phone on during church. You can look back at the person and say, I'm glad you put on deodorant. You can look back at them and say, are you single? I'm not on Facebook or social media, so I don't really get to share, pictures of my kids and stuff like that. I also don't get to see all y'all's crap that y'all put online, which is healthy. But anyway, God is everywhere. No matter where you go, he's there. Right? You're at the beach, he's there. You're in the strip club, he'll be there. I want to see how many of you can sing every word of this song with me the entire time. And clap at the same time. If you're white, that's impossible, but we're going to try anyway. Okay?
So we've got this movie-like story of the abused wife, the esteemed pastor husband who's secretly been abusing her for a long time and ends up murdering her, is what me and most likely the rest of the world all thought. Well, shortly after, law enforcement released a statement saying that Mica's death was ruled a suicide, that her injury was consistent with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Not only that, they released an audio of a 911 call that she made, where she was asking the dispatcher if they could ping her location when the dispatcher asked what's going on. Mica stated that she was about to kill herself and wanted to make sure that her family could find her.
Robeson County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
Hi, are you able to trace the location of my phone?
You don't know where you're at?
And National Park.
What's the phone number you're calling me from?
843-655-5242.
Where's the park located at?
In Bear Bluff. I have my location on, I think, on my phone. Find my phone is on. I just did my my location.
Okay, I'm showing, I don't think you are in Robeson County. Are you at the Lumber River State Park?
Yeah, that's where I am.
Okay. Tell me what's happened.
I'm about to kill myself, and I just want my family to know where to find me.
Okay, ma'am. Just listen to what I'm saying, okay? Let me make sure I got the exact location where you're at, okay? Just 1 minute.
They also have her on security camera purchasing a gun and also getting gas. Like, they've laid out this sequence of events. They've stated that it is a suicide, but there's all this other, like, it doesn't add up. It does not add up. So even more suspicious is that JP has been caught seeing another woman named Suzie. And once people started digging, trying to find out who this Suzie person is, it was brought to light that Suzie was married before, but her husband died in a tragic accident. He was a quadriplegic and supposedly drove his wheelchair into the community pool and drowned. Like, it's like the world's biggest conspiracy. Like, none of it is adding up. So again, we've got this just incredibly perfect recipe for murder. But then when they came out and released the 911 call and stated that her injury was consistent with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and then they have her on camera that day buying the gun, blew my mind. I was dumbfounded. Truly dumbfounded. This makes no sense. And that is when I started questioning some things based off of my experiences working deaths in the field, whether it be car wrecks, suicides, murders, or natural causes, or unknown whatnot. I've seen an array of these situations, and I can't help but wonder who in law enforcement, in the medical examiner's office, who is JP close to? The reason I say that is because, and I'm not saying not all services I worked for were like this. In fact, every EMS service I worked for was vastly different. So deaths in the field were handled different in different locations. However, over the years, I have stated multiple times how easy it would be to get away with murder in certain places. And I say that because as a paramedic, we would get a 911 call where somebody would find somebody deceased, and we would go, and as the medic, I would get there, confirm that they were in fact deceased, and then I would call the coroner. Some services, the dispatcher will call the coroner. One of the services I worked for was a very rural area, small town. Like, everybody knows everybody. So I would just call him on my cell phone and tell him what I had. And there were many, many times when, and not just one coroner, these were multiple coroners, they would, you form a relationship with them and they would ask on the phone, what do you think? And I could say elderly patient, heart problems, whatever, and I would tell them, yeah, this looks like a natural death, or if there was maybe something suspicious, then I could, and so there, what I'm saying is that there were times where the coroner didn't come out to the scene because I would relay to them that it appears to be a natural death. There's nothing suspicious going on. And they would say, okay, cool, go ahead and take them to the morgue or whatever. So all I'm saying is that, is it possible that proper steps were not taken in her case to ensure that everything was looked at? I saw an interview a couple of days ago with Mica's father, and he brought up some interesting things about it. He said that a partial autopsy was done. It was not a full autopsy, so they didn't check her for like the residue that a self-inflicted gunshot wound would leave on you. He said that he got to see her body a couple of times and her hands were scratched up and bruised. She had what appeared to be defense wounds. There were also multiple shell casings found at the scene. One round was even live. He also said the flow of the water where she was not consistent with where she was found. And he didn't tell this, I don't think, but I did also find out JP's lawyer owns the property right next to where she died. Mica lives in South Carolina, but she was found in a state park in North Carolina. She has no ties to that state park. She's never been there before. According to her family, there's no reason why she would go to that state park. It just didn't make any sense. Well, JP's lawyer knows a lot about it because he's got property right there. I also found something else interesting. The 911 call blew my mind. When I heard that phone call, I was flabbergasted because it just doesn't make sense. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody can believe that. And I found this video very interesting, so take a listen.
I'm a retired FBI agent, and this update on the Mica Miller case is unbelievable. We've been reviewing all of the comments you guys left on our last couple videos, and several people have brought up the theory that Mica's voice on the 911 recording could potentially be AI, that she didn't actually make the call. There are also reports that JP's lawyer specializes in the use of AI. This is all alleged, of course. Sounds impossible, right? That someone could take an audio recording of their voice, upload it to a software, give it a script, and get an AI-generated clone of their voice in less than 1 minute. And surely you would know if you were hearing the AI version of someone's voice, right? What if I told you that you're listening to an AI-generated clone of my voice right now and I have yet to actually speak in this video? Would you believe that it's possible then?
So what you just heard was a cheap, free, AI-generated program that recreated my voice. Got pretty close. So, all the allegations in the Mica Miller case that AI was used to call 911 have to be taken seriously at this point. I did not realize how advanced this stuff and how scary this stuff is getting. So, it just has to be considered. It's part of the case. We're going to stay on this thing. There is more to this. Thanks for your questions and comments. Keep them coming.
Once I saw that video, I was even more convinced that this was not a suicide. And then her sister, I saw an interview with her where she said that She literally stated, if something happens to me or if there's a bullet in my head, it wasn't me, it was JP. She was telling her family before she died that she was scared for her life, she was being tracked, she felt unsafe, and then she turns up dead. But then it's ruled a suicide. And I'm not normally one for like conspiracy theories or anything like that, but as I said in a previous video, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a lot of smoke with this case. Fortunately, the FBI has now gotten involved, and I suspect that they are going to find either dirty cops, dirty lawyers, dirty something in the medical exit. They're going to find, in my opinion, this is what I predict. I predict they are going to find a mishandling of this case from the get-go. From the time officers or whoever first showed up on scene, the evidence they did or didn't collect, I suspect they're going to uncover a lot of things that were overlooked, people that turned a blind eye to what was going on, and I think they are going to destroy this in court. At least I hope so. And also, Mica's family wanted after it was ruled a suicide, they wanted another opinion. They wanted another autopsy. And per her dad, she, again, didn't even get a full autopsy. But they couldn't do that because JP rushed through everything and had her cremated. That kind of says everything, doesn't it? So after Mica's body is found, literally the next day, JP preaches not one, but 2 sermons like nothing is wrong, totally normal. And when he gets to the end of his sermon, he asks everybody to stand up. And then he says that there will not be an altar call, that he has an announcement. And then he tells the church about Mica's death and that it was self-induced.
We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can. So y'all can stand to your feet. Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next little bit. 'Cause I don't want to I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks, I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina. And we're gonna have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. And so it's all I can. I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. So y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. And she wasn't. Y'all knew that she wasn't well mentally, and that she needed her medicine that was hard to get to her.
That is delulu. That is absolute delusion on his part to think that that's not gonna raise some eyebrows. So that is just a quick recap of everything that's going on. There's so much more. There's so many more details. I encourage you to type in Mica Miller on YouTube, on Reddit, anywhere you get your information, and there is video after video, article after article about this case. None of this is making sense or adding up. I can't really form more of an opinion until more facts come out, but for right now, I just don't believe that it was a suicide. And maybe like everybody else, we just don't want to believe that. But after kind of listening to what Mica's father said about the defensive wounds and the things that were not investigated properly where she was found, it just stinks. I feel like somebody is helping cover this up. It just stinks. And for right now, I can't believe that it was a suicide. I think in some way, JP, whether he pulled the trigger or not, I believe that he was absolutely involved. And something that Micah's dad brought up I found interesting was the bruising on her hands, and he was wondering if maybe someone was forcing her to do that to herself, like they were holding her hand and making her hold the gun to her head and pull the trigger. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen the bruises or anything like that, but that is just what he said, and I think it's a very interesting point. And the fact that there is no longer a body for authorities to reference, it just stinks so bad. But we will have to just continue to watch. I did just want to throw in briefly my experiences and why I may not be so quick to trust what is being put out right now based off of JP's own actions. It just doesn't align with a suicide, and I am very relieved that the FBI is now involved, and I hope that there's justice in this case, and there's no happy ending. It's awful. I feel for her family. I cannot imagine. I would like to encourage all of my viewers who may be church-going people to just keep your head on a swivel, stay skeptical, and don't fall victim to cuckoo pastors like J.P. Miller's performative spiritual manipulation. I'm sure things will continue to come out. The story is developing every day. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this case, and I will see you soon.